Okay, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. If you have just joined us today, welcome to the Little Red Rooster Summer Showcase. This is the final talk for the day. It's entitled, Is Craftsmanship the Ultimate Luxury in the Age of AI? I am Busola Evans. I'm an interiors journalist, and I will be your moderator for this talk. We're all extremely grateful that you're here and you've been able to make this talk. I know there's a lot going on and it's very hot, so we appreciate you sitting in here listening to us. The conversation has come about because there's no escaping AI. It's entering every sector of industry. And basically, we are looking at how the impact it's had on our area and the design sector. So it'll be very interesting to delve into that. Just a bit of housekeeping. This talk will take about 30 minutes, after which you'll be able to ask some questions. So please do ask some questions. We've got some brilliant people here, very, very knowledgeable, full of expertise. So do ask any questions that you want to. And now it's a pleasure to formally introduce the panelists. Next to me here is Elina Tsao, who's the head of brand for PLAUD.AI. Following that is James Tailby, senior communications officer of Naim Audio. And then we've got William Knight, senior designer at Bisley, and Marius Chapel, owner and executive board member of Goldmund. So a round of applause, please, for our lovely panelists. Now, before we get into it, I just want to ask each person here just to sort of say a little bit about their brand, in case there may be some people here who don't know the ins and outs of what you do. So just a few lines, just so people know what area of expertise you deal with.
Sure. Just a quick introduction about what PLAUD is doing is that we develop AI note takers that help people capture, extract, and utilize real life and digital intelligence, where the note pen I'm wearing and the PLAUD note I'm carrying with my phone are the devices that can capture the conversation, and then our PLAUD intelligence, the AI capability, is giving you the transcripts and summaries of it all.
Great, thank you.
So I work for Naim Audio and Focal. Focal are a high-end speaker brand based in France, and Naim Audio are a high-end electronics company, both in the audio industry, with over 100 years of experience between the two brands. And we make high-end home audio and custom installation audio for our clients.
Thank you.
Bisley are a UK heritage furniture brand. We have a long history specializing in commercial product, but we also make a lot of residential product. And I'm here to represent our craftsmanship and our skilled workforce.
Thank you.
So Goldmund is a Swiss manufacturer of audio high-end product. It is almost 50 years. It will be 50 years old in 2028. We made ultra luxury product, and everything is made in Switzerland.
Thank you very much. So let's kick off. So I'll start with a simple-ish question. Has the meaning of craftsmanship changed or evolved in your industry? And if so, how? I'll start with, actually, James is looking right at me, so I'll start with you.
Guilty, fine. That's an interesting one, because I think that in the world that we exist, the sort of high-end audio world, craftsmanship, I think, has maintained a level of meaning throughout our existence, to be honest. There's always been a focus on highly skilled workers, premium materials, premium components, and incredibly high build quality, of which is all essentially done by hand. And so I think, as we'll get into later on, there are elements which are changing very rapidly, but fundamentally I think there has been a consistency in the meaning of craftsmanship throughout our 50 years in existence, which is deeply rooted in the human aspect of it.
Okay, thank you. Elina?
So compared to other brands presenting today, PLAUD.AI is really a new company with only 2 years of history of existing in this innovation AI industry. So what we see craftsmanship in our industry is not only about handmade versus machine made, instead of how we understand the spirit behind the craftsmanship, on how we can, as a AI native company creating hardwares, how we learn from this traditional craftsmanship.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so in my industry, I think we've taken a turn back from perhaps the 80s and 90s focus of mass-produced, filling out huge floor plates for reasonable costing as quickly as possible, into a position where our clients are really invested in the craftsmanship of the products they're going to receive, because it gives added value to their staff and it increases well-being, lots of aspects. I think we're rightly leaning back towards a real focus on material and construction within our space.
Right. So that's quite interesting. Is you've gone back to the sort of whole craftsmanship angle.
Yeah.
So go ahead. Sorry.
So for Goldmund, I would say that firstly, we produce just a few units of products per year. So the craftsmanship is very linked to actually our product and the final customers, and the final customers really enjoy our product through emotions. And I believe that the way that we produce and we craft our product is very linked to these emotions. Mm-hmm. So I believe that through the 50 years of Goldmund, it has remained quite the same.
Yeah. And actually, while you've still got the mic, how has AI impacted your business in the last few years?
I would say that in the conception of the product, so specifically in the R&D side, the innovation that we put in our product, definitely the AI had a big impact and still has a big impact as of today. Also in terms of process and how we structure the craft behind our product, AI help us and is very valuable. But I believe that the freedom that we give to our craftsmen in the manufacture is very key in the process of making our product. And this freedom is actually quite key in this emotion process that I was talking about.
So we're not having AI take over completely?
Not yet.
And what would you say about that, William?
I think within a business such as ours that has a very large workforce and quite a large volume of floor space, we're not talking about specifically AI as a construct that helps individuals. It more is removing burden through systems for us. So where we might have had to waste lots of time and effort of our workforce manually picking items that we're going to take as raw material, or moving orders around, or by forklift, or whatever it might have been, a lot of those things have been automated for us, which allows our workers to concentrate on their craft, which is their skill, rather than just something that can be taught or can be done in a different automated way. So it's freed up skill within our business.
Right. And have you found that, James, that it's freed up?
Yes, quite similar to what William was just saying. We're still, to be honest, we're still fairly early on in our journey with AI, I think, as a brand or as a group. And certainly on the design front, the design is still very led by our senior engineers and our main people who do that from and they use their brains, and it comes from their hearts and their brains mainly, and they are the ones that come up with the concepts for the design, for sure. But like I said, going back to what William was saying, we have started to utilize AI in removing some of that administrative burden, streamlining process, and freeing up the capacity for our, incredibly skilled workers to make the most of the skill that they do have,
Yeah.
essentially.
Do you worry, because you are a brand with such heritage and known for your quality craftsmanship, that there's that sort of struggle to balance the use of AI?
I think so. I think, I think inherently with any brand that is a heritage brand and is looking to incorporate something like AI into the way we work, there's a balance to be struck, right? And I'm not suggesting we know what that balance is just yet, and there is a struggle with it. But I think so. For instance, we've created a board of governance for AI with select members, select employees who are looking into the best way to safely, ethically, and efficiently incorporate AI into our working practices on a day-to-day basis and on a larger scale basis too. But we're very much at the beginning of that journey, and we're still working out how best to do that, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And the main way we're using it now is in that efficiency streamlining, I think.
Yeah. And William, how do you incorporate the sort of that traditional making with AI, or is that not? Is it? You mentioned just now that you are a lot of the AI involvement is freeing people. Is it not involved in any of your manufacturing?
Currently, no. What's interesting about Bisley and comparatively to other furniture manufacturers is that people kind of expect the factory to look like this technological, like wonderland of robots and things doing stuff, when in fact what's really nice and refreshing, and we get a lot of feedback from this, like people love visiting our factory because it is a very people-driven space. The machines are there to perform a job, but they don't perform it as well depending on who's using it. We have people that have worked the same machine for 10, 15 years. They understand the nuances of how to get the best out of that machine, which on paper might not be exactly how it's recommended to be used. So you might suggest that it could be taken over, and in principle, these are advanced machines. You could link them in some way to an AI structure, but that would follow a very strict linear rule, and you won't get the best out of that, and you lose the human interaction, the human knowledge that, our team holds, knowledge on machinery that's been passed through a couple of generations in some cases. And we can't get the finish that we need on our products without keeping that knowledge within the people.
Yeah. And do you find, Marius, sort of getting that balance difficult? Do you find it challenging, or or do you feel that's enhanced all your processes?
I feel that the separation between the conception, so the part where the AI can really help us, and the production, the realization of our product is quite clear inside of our company, especially in terms of process, teams, everything. So really for the conception aspect, AI is already helping us to really improve our innovation process and the technology that we use. For the realization of the product, for the production, on this, as I was saying, really the emotion and the knowledge and the little touch that all of our craftsmen can bring to the product are really key to the realization of the product and to the final product. So this is really something that we need to keep and that we are going to keep.
Yeah. And Elina, so your brand is quite unique in the sense that it hasn't had to integrate with AI. It was very much part of the business model from the start. So why, as a business, was that important? I mean, you obviously sort of looked in the crystal glass and saw that that's where it was all going.
Yeah. So from the sharing of the panelists, I heard some keywords like workflow, craftsman skill, process, understanding the nuance. So all these things are the reason why we had this idea of creating an AI tool, because we found there is a big gap between the traditional note-taking solutions where everything is really fragmented. You have to record your conversation from one device, transcribe it somewhere else, and then try to find the insights out of this pages of texts. And it's really a waste of time of all this documentation thing. So we think, okay, there's AI that can step in to make things better, to optimize the process. And we are not enemies of the traditional craftsmanship. Rather, we want to actually make what makes us human stand out, to give you back the time and energy and creative, to save you and free you from all this mundane work that you do, so you can finally have the time to work on your ideas that matters.
So what are the elements for me? You said you're not an enemy of traditional craftsmanship, thank God. But what are the elements of that traditional craftsmanship that you've taken into your products?
Well, I think the human part of the craftsmanship is really important. Like I mentioned, what we can learn as an AI company from the traditional brands and manufacturers is really the spirit behind how this craftsman, like how deeply they understand the user's needs. Like at PLAUD, we spend countless hours studying how people are capturing their meeting content and how people are making notes, how people are extracting the knowledge structure, and where their productivity is broken. And we try to find the gap to understand users' needs, and that's where we can start to build on things. That's the craftsman spirit behind PLAUD.AI. Yeah. So the empathy, the strategic thinking, and the ability to decide what matters is really the human part of things. And what AI do best is to record the process, to optimize it, to structure it, and to leave the part where, about the contextual understanding and the decision-making part back to human.
Right. And for all of you, how important are the sort of materials and finishes of your products? Sort of that tactile element that was always so key. Is that more or less important, or just as important?
Certainly, for us, it's incredibly important. The build quality of our products, which are carried out by our incredibly highly skilled workforce in Salisbury, down south in the UK, is a key factor in it's our brand trust, our authority, our people like the brand because of that, right? They trust our build quality. They trust the materials that we use. They're the highest quality that we can get. And especially on the Focal side, they've just recently started an arm of Focal called Focal Crafts, which is dedicated to the sort of innovation and exploration of interesting material that can be utilized in our products. And obviously, the audio world is an interesting one, and traditionally you would think audio is audio, right? But increasingly we are exploring these tactile textures and materials to incorporate in our products, to provide that almost experiential aspect for all of the products that we do end up making. And it is becoming, especially if you're focusing on the really sort of higher end market, the luxury market, it's increasingly important, I think, to do that. People really value that, I think. And so it is a very important part of what we do, undoubtedly.
Yeah. Elina, because your products are sort of so AI focused, is the tactility?
Yes, it's also very important to us. So we keep it manual design to give people the experience of pressing a button or a long press to feel the vibration. So this is the part that we remain the physical interaction with our products.
So technically, if you really wanted to, you could just remove that button and...
Absolutely.
But you choose to have it.
So if the material is poorly crafted, we use, really bad material, it just make this experience very cheap. And that is the first touch point of this whole note-taking solution. So we want to give people a good experience, a high quality touch point to lead them into our further steps. Yeah.
And do you have anything to add, William?
I would say that for Goldmund, we value, and this is deeply in the DNA of the brand, we value as much the quality of the sound as the quality of the physical presence and the authority of our products. So for almost 50 years, we've been using very noble material, especially aluminum, which is very neutral in terms of sound quality. And this is, I think, something that is key also in the DNA of the brand, to be able to have a very, very transparent signature. So this aluminum that we are using for almost all of our product, I think this is very important for this physical aspect, and especially for once again, for the emotions that this gives to our final customers. So
Yeah. Do you think that customers still care about the sort of human element, or they just want things to function? We've got to the point now with AI doing stuff that you just want it to work. How important is that human interaction? I mean, I know it's a nice thing to say, we keep the human interaction, but does anyone care?
Yeah, I think for Bisley, we create physical products that are deceptively simple, but a lot of, especially our heritage products, are complex to make. Some have to be entirely handmade. And when you get into that position, the function isn't changing for us. So there is nowhere to hide. It has to perform perfectly within its field. And part of that is the tactility of it. And we're going back to the finishing and things. Everything has to be perfect. And our customers understand that when they're paying a premium for our handmade products, or they're just working with us in general, that they appreciate the handmade aspect of it. We can show them the person that ground the weld down, that finished it by hand, and that also differentiates us within our market, because not many people do it, and we do.
Yeah. Would you say there are any areas that are quite resistant to AI, or areas that you would not consider even getting AI involved in? James?
I don't know about not considering getting them involved in, but I think going back to the design and the sort of conceptual side of our products, I think there's a very human, and like Marius was talking about, the sort of emotional side of things, right? And so as a human, you can understand that and appreciate that and process that and react to that. And if that reaction is conceptualizing a product that is a certain way, or to do this and that, I think that's a very important part of what we do. Ultimately, listening to music is something that invokes incredible emotion, or it should do at the very least.
Depending on what you're listening to.
Well, yeah, quite. And so it's an incredibly important part of what we do. And I think it's not to dismiss the potential that AI may have in the design moving forward, but I think fundamentally you design products for a reason, and those reasons come from the emotive side of the engagement with the product. And so I think that needs to be considered.
Yeah. And how would you say that AI sort of, is it able to elevate the, sort of what humans, the sort of human craftsmanship side of things, or is that?
I think I can add a little opinion on this, and also echo back to the two questions you asked before. I really agree with the panelists that this AI and human interaction, fundamentally, it goes back to how emotionally we can trust, like how much we can trust AI and how comfortably we can accept AI into our work life and even personal life. And that's where I think also the human potential lies. that we are the ones who has this empathy and also strategic thinking. So I think what PLAUD.AI believes is we don't want to create any AI tools that replace human. We want to amplify humans' capability to free the time and to let people feel more, think more, and to be more. So this is something we want to create a safety net, but this doesn't, it cannot be achieved overnight. So there is a psychological process of how people are accepting and embracing this AI industry by being hyper awareness of someone who's wearing a AI glass or AI hardware, and then gradually accepting it, and then in the end of the day they will feel they have the safety net of knowing nothing important from their real life interaction will be lost. And then imagine if you have a creative team equipped with AI devices and they can be fully engaged in the brainstorm session, knowing there's something taking notes for them. Yeah, so that's the part that we want to relieve the human potential of all this in this workflow.
But do we, I mean, one thing that's often mentioned when people talk about AI is the, sort of possible loss of jobs, and certain people will not have jobs anymore. And I think I was reading something probably just a couple of days ago saying that there's lots of, lots of graduates now, those lower level jobs, the taking notes, for instance, those jobs are becoming less and less because we have AI doing it. How do you think, what impact do you think the use of AI will have on your team, your staff? Is that something that you're conscious of or something that you think about?
Well, that's not entirely false. But also this AI industry gave the opportunity of companies like us that we created hundreds of job positions for young people and for people who's interested into exploring career opportunity in this industry. So there's downside of taking some jobs like documentation, like secretary or assistant, but also if these people they're interested on creative direction of their career path, also give them a lot of possibilities to work on prompts, to create their own AI tools. So it really also opened a lot of doors for graduates instead of
there's different jobs basically.
Yeah. So they don't need to climb a corporate ladder. Instead, they can be their own. They can be a founder. They can be an artist.
Yeah. And do you have anything to add about the job situation?
Yeah, I think from if we're speaking not specifically about our business at Bisley, but about craft in general, someone could probably show you a way of manipulating some advanced machinery to replicate someone carving stone or something like that. But whilst that is entirely possible on a one-off basis in front of an audience, it's not really something that's available for commercial use. So whilst it could be done in a scientific position, the idea that you're going to integrate AI with a piece of hardware that can carve stone for a cathedral and it's going to climb up the side and carve the whole thing, it's just not reality that we live in right now.
Right now. Do you have anything to add about the job situation?
I sort of agree with what William was saying, really. This was the reality of it currently. I don't, we can't predict the future necessarily, but currently the sort of real life implication and integration of the technology into doing what we do it's a challenge, and quite frankly, in a lot of cases, simply isn't possible, or certainly, even if it comes to the economics of it, to afford to be able to put something in place that could climb a cathedral and and build one. It's just not possible.
Yeah.
Currently for many, even if you're a global brand, it's still going to be not worth of that investment. So there's a journey to go on, I think, and I'm sure that in the future things may look very different. But right now, there's an awful lot to be said for the tangible human touch on a lot of these skills.
I mean, we've talked about that human touch, but do you worry or have concerns that those traditional craft making skills will erode over time because we're sort of getting so focused?
I mean, I think that's been, without AI, that's been the case for a long time for a lot of traditional skills like that. Even like I said, without AI. So yes, it's a concern, and yes, I think there's a lot of value to be found in the people that still are able to carry that out at such a high level and have such a high skill set. But like, to be honest, I don't know of the impact that AI will have on that currently. I'm so sorry. But there's definitely potential there, and it depends. I think a lot of it does come down to the economics of it. I think really, the real life implication of it, the real life. Can you afford the technology to do this, to change the way you work? Because right now, I think most places can't, but that might change. So.
Yeah. And Marius, do you think there's a sweet spot where craftsmanship and technology can sort of live side by side quite happily, a happily married couple, if there is such a thing?
I do believe so. When we look at what we do at Goldmund and what we've been doing for the past 50 years, actually it is exactly the case. So we've been trying to be really at the peak of the technology and the innovation with our R&D team and all the knowledge that we were developing. And next to that, we were just crafting the product and with this really emotion process that I was talking about. I think AI is just going to enhance the innovation process and the conception of the product, but still we will need to keep this sense of crafting the product, and so I believe that at least for us at Goldmund, these two worlds will continue to work together.
And I suspect that's the same feeling for all of you. Are there areas in your businesses that you are exploring with AI that you haven't quite sort of achieved it yet, but you're sort of thinking potential sort of AI involvement?
Yeah, I think for us, a company that deals with a lot of large-scale raw materials, always optimization is a thing for us. We can't dictate the size and shape of the raw materials. We get them steel in a coil, wood in board, but we are turning those things into three-dimensional objects and optimizing that from the minute it gets through the door to minimize wastage, I think is a great area for potential for our business and our industry. We have great recycling capabilities already, but it's about minimizing what you need to recycle as well. I think for us it's a good thing to look at.
Yeah. And any areas for you that you're looking at?
Well, I mean, like I referred to earlier, we've set up a board of governance and with select people in the company to explore those areas and those potential areas where it could be utilized. We're at the start of that journey right now, to be honest. So yes, we're looking into it. I don't know exactly what that looks like just yet, but it's it's something we're open to and something we're actually actively seeking out currently. And so further down the line, I'm sure that it will play an integral role in large aspects of what we do, whether it be on the production side, whether it just be on the administration side, whatever it may be. It's certainly something we're looking to utilize and to optimize our ways of working. But what that is exactly right now is too early to say for us, I would say.
Okay. And Elina, is there sort of scaling up? I mean, you're already very much entrenched in AI. Are there other things that you are looking into?
Right. So just a little suggestion: you can consider adopting our products to optimize your workflow already.
Very smooth.
I'll
very
send you
smooth.
samples. So a lot of people think what we're doing is like, okay, you use this capabilities from OpenAI, Cloud, or Gemini, and you just integrate it into this simple device. But if you think further, our craftsmanship lies in the intelligent capabilities that we create to make it so easily accessible and so easy to use. You don't need to be a prompt expert. You don't need to know anything about note-taking, but we can already give you this summary. And all this 1,000 templates are crafted by human beings, by PLAUD team, and by 1 million of our users who are lawyers, doctors, and project managers themselves. So this is the human parts that we integrated into this. And we also have a very bold idea of where this AI could go. Maybe not today, but maybe in 10 years or 20 years. Imagine one day if we don't need to physically be here, and you just put your AI device here and mine. These are AI agents that represent us, that they can do the part of work representing us. And
Elina, that sounds really scary.
Well, I'm optimistic. I work in I work in tech, so I must be an optimistic of not having tech replace me, right? But further, but rather give me more time of having a holiday, because my agent knows me so well, knows how I will respond and how I do my task, and it can already perform the task for me. And I can do something more valuable, let's say have a stretch meeting with our founder, or really brainstorm on a content with an influencer, that kind of thing.
Wow. Okay. We'll see what happens in 20
in
years.
decades, not today.
And finally, I think we sort of just go back to the key question, which is, do you believe craftsmanship is the ultimate luxury in the age of AI? I'll start with you and you go around.
Sure. I think we want to amplify what makes human, and that part is creativity. So craftsmanship is really, I think, deeply involved with humans' creativity and ideas, and the understanding of the context and human needs. So for sure, it only gets more important, even with AI.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I do, certainly to a degree, I do agree with that statement. I think, as I've alluded to throughout this conversation, there's an awful lot of value that our customers perceive in the handcrafted nature and highly skilled work that goes into the creation of our products. And I think it's not black and white, right? It's not yes or it's not no. Yes, I think there is a lot of value perceived in that, and a lot of value that's worthy to be perceived in that. But also at the same time, if AI can be utilized to make that more efficient, make it better in any way, shape or form, then it shouldn't be ignored and should be embraced. But ultimately, I think that, the tangible, tactile quality of the goods that we make by hand, by our highly skilled workforce, do essentially result in the perception of the high value worth of them, and I think that it's ultimately luxury. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, I think the craftsmanship and the finish for our customers and end users is obviously a definable luxury for someone that's working on the designing and manufacturing end, to provide that craftsmanship at a cost-effective price is a really interesting thing, being sat here with a company like PLAUD, who could, in principle, afford more time, which is another luxury that affords us more time to work on the craft. So I think it's an interesting crossroads and crossover, and an interesting place to be. If we can buy more time, we can buy better craft.
Well, in 20 years, we'll all have doubles, and we can, we'll have lots of time on our hands. But how about you?
For me, my answer would be yes. the vision that I have for the ultra luxury is that ultra luxury is actually finding perfection into the imperfection of human touch. And so when we look at the process, like when at Rolls-Royce they paint on the side, you know, just the paint, and the worker do that by hand. At the end, it's made by a man or a woman, but it really is the perfection into the imperfection of what a human is being able to perform. And so this is really the human touch, and I think luxury is about that.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you all very much. And I'm just going to turn to the floor. Oh.
You mentioned earlier, like the unhappy or the happy married couple. Like if you go to any tech event or manufacturing event now, the two buzzwords are sustainability and AI. And they're two things that don't sit well together. AI is not environmentally friendly, it's quite data hungry. I just wonder what the challenges are for brands who are wanting to incorporate AI into manufacturing and to products, but also want their products to be sustainable and recyclable and part of the kind of carbon neutral and part of the, you know, the circular economy. They're two things that don't sit well together. So what are the challenges that you guys would think about? You know, how do you have recyclable, carbon-friendly products, environmentally friendly, but also incorporate AI, because they don't sit well together in bed at the moment, do they?
Well, I don't think these two things are contradict each other, because we just got the certificate of climate, the climate certificate for the Note Pen. So the manufacturing process is climate friendly and also carbon neutral. So we're also super aware of the CSR progress and also like B Corp process. So we're trying to integrate this thing into the whole business process. So the manufacturing is really only part of it. And if you think about the services that we give, the software, these are electronic and carbon neutral. Yeah, and we're trying to improve this manufacturing part by compliant with this climate-friendly institutions and regulations.
Okay. Does anyone else want to add to that?
I would just say that I agree, broadly speaking, and it's an incredibly important aspect of utilising AI. You know, not necessarily on the manufacturing front, but on the processing side of it, the energy that requires is something that needs to be considered very, very seriously, I think. And so there's a balance to be drawn between the results that you get from utilising AI and the impact that it then has on the wider world, the environment, the climate. You know, I don't have an answer for that, quite frankly, but it is.
Just go on AI.
Exactly, I'll find out. I'll just ask. But the board that we've created within the company, that's pretty much the top priority. You know, working out how to balance that, because it's incredibly important. You know, there's a lot to be worried about right now, and you know, we don't need to be adding to that unnecessarily.
No. Okay. Thank you.
Just as a follow-up to that, you know, when you think about things that are handcrafted, often they stick around for a long time as well. You know, they have a long lifespan. We kind of really appreciate handcrafted products over time, and they're kind of passed down, or they have long, you know, they live for a long time. Whereas a lot of technology we're seeing actually lives for a very short time. So I'm wondering at PLAUD, you know, how you're thinking about that and making sure that you're also thinking about the ability to recycle, and how long would you expect people to kind of keep products for and keep using them for when you're kind of iterating them? And you know, I imagine have a product roadmap that stretches out into the future where you're going to be bringing out more sophisticated products.
Yeah, that's a very good question, and it's a super general and normal perception on how people see consumer electronics. Like, you buy it this year and a new product will replace the current one, like what we're doing with iPhones. So a matter of fact, with the PLAUD Note, it's our first product that we launched 2 years ago exactly. And the users from 2 years ago, like the very first one, they bought the PLAUD Note and they can still use it today, and they can expect to use it for a longer time looking forward. Because what we're doing is we're keep updating the software, so everything happens in the app. So maybe 2 years ago, we gave you 15 templates and maybe one advanced AI feature. And today we have 1,000 template and a couple of advanced AI features that everyone can enjoy. So this thing is evolving not on the hardware side, but on the software side. And also, I think the perception itself, it's essentially like the emotional, it's subjective. And what we want to provide to our consumers is also like a different way of seeing our products. It's not something that, okay, this year we have a new product and it's better than the Note and you should change a new one. No, we never do this comparison. We just add on more scenarios, add on a better and more capability. For example, wearing modes. And you can choose between the old one and the new one, but on the software side, the AI capabilities are all the same. You just choose the way you want to carry your device and choose the different form factor.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
When we talk about craftsmanship, you talk about Rolls-Royce, for example, there's a level of authenticity when it comes to something that's been handmade and stuff like that. How do you position AI to have the same sort of outlook when it comes to even luxury and stuff? Because if I go to a shop and I look at a bag and I hear that's been made by AI, I probably would value it less compared to something that's been handcrafted. How do you reposition AI to have the same level of gravitas?
Very good question.
I think for me, if I was in that position where I was looking at something and someone was telling me, okay, this thing has been designed and crafted by AI, what I'd really be looking at for it to have any value to me was if it was crafted in such a way that couldn't be done by a human under any circumstance. Then I'd be impressed, and it has a separate value that elevates it, not above, but it puts it in a different sphere, and that adds value. If it's just done, I remember when home 3D printing became this thing, and it's like, oh look, everyone's going to fix their own broken stuff with the 3D printer. No, people just printed loads of crap key rings because they could. It's like a difference between doing something because you should and could. If you see something that's impressive like that, then I'd be like, wow. If it's just there and they're like, yeah, AI did it, but it doesn't really look any better and it could just be done by any designer, then in you and my position, I would just walk out.
Thank you. Any more questions? Oh, yeah.
I had a phrase the other day, time millionaires, where we're leveraging AI to free up our free time. So we're not being so productive all the time, we're getting spare time. Is that a consideration for any of you, or is it that we just want to ramp up and be more productive in our work?
Well, I think it certainly plays a part in what all of us have mentioned, really, certainly in the sort of proficiency and efficiency of our processes, definitely. If you can free up 5 hours a week for our creative team to focus on their creativity, it's not necessarily the free time, but it's the creation of time unallocated, as it were, that we could allocate to things that we perceive as higher value than whatever it is, some administrative stuff, boring stuff, whatever it is. But if we can free up more time for the workforce to focus on their skill set, on their creativity, on whatever it is that their ultimate mission is, then I think that's a positive. In terms of the free time, obviously everybody wants more free time, right? And so if that's an end goal through this, then that's a positive, provided it works within the context of the business we're working in, right? If everybody just freed up all their time and didn't do anything with it, then who's benefiting from that other than the individuals, right? Yeah, it does sound lovely. Yeah, I wouldn't mind it.
More holidays for all.
But I think sort of effective use of that time, I think, is a better way of framing it, I would suggest.
So even sometimes we introduce ourselves as the productivity tool. The efficiency is not our ultimate goal. It's not the value that we want to convey to our users. So for sure, we save you some time, but we never tell user what you should do with this time. I think ultimately the value we want to give people is a peace of mind, knowing no information is lost and knowing where to find it, and also to take control of your life. Because the part that we see is broken in today's workflow and also in day-to-day life is we spend so much time on something that's not meaningful, just documentation, just some really little tasks that don't provide value. So I think that's where AI can help you, is that to give you the feeling of taking control of the workflow. And ultimately, I think that's also how, as a marketing person from an AI company, is something I want people to see the value of AI is that it's not trying to replace you, but rather if you, like how you learn to control AI. If you can master the prompts and the usage of AI tools, then you're taking back all the control of the technology itself.
Brilliant, thank you. Oh. Yeah.
I hear what you're saying and how AI can relieve us of all the small, mundane tasks and tiresome things that we do. But actually, that's how a lot of us learn. When you know nothing about a subject, you learn by doing the mundane, basic tasks. If AI is doing that for you, perhaps as a person who's already at a certain level and has a certain level of knowledge and experience, how does that help somebody come along who has no experience?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good question. And to be honest, I think how people learn today is really different from how we learn from the past. Think about kids today. They talk about topics that I maybe started to discuss when, like in my 20s, and they started to talk about in their, when they're like 8th grade. They know about pop star, they know about culture. So these kids, they really, I think that the learning curve of the past 20 years, like they shortened it in, I guess, 10 years. So then they start to learn new things. Maybe they start to adopting AI, and by adopting new tools to help them learn, they learn from a different perspective. For example, the content structures that we give, the AI suggestions we give to help you reflect on, maybe it's a lecture, maybe it's a conversation you had with your client, and where it went well and where it went wrong. It's also a learning curve, and it just helps to make things more structured and to surface the insights. So to a certain extent, I think it helps the learning curve because it also distills the knowledge.
But that's the point. It distills what is already in existence. It doesn't create something new.
That's why we capture the meeting content from real life. Because all the AI models today, they're trained based on the digital data that existed from the past. But a lot of spontaneous idea, the human part, the joke that you tell with your coworker, it doesn't exist on YouTube, right? It belongs to you. And it goes nowhere. That's why we introduced this tool. So maybe you give voice memos to yourself, and that intelligence it's just yours, right? It's your individual intelligence. And I think ultimately we're shifting how we collaborate and communicate and how you think, because you wouldn't worry about this brilliant joke goes nowhere, or I had this brilliant idea during this brainstorm session that no one take notes for it. So it's super powered by AI, and maybe one day you can express yourself freely, and also in the company, because we're also working on enterprise solution. It's changing how organizations, like teams are collaborating and updating their collective intelligence, the memory that belongs to their team.
Okay. It's a bit. Okay. Well, did you have just one last question, please?
Yeah, so a lot of us, I think, here are various types of comms and content people and everything else, so as well as the sort of craftsmanship behind the manufacturing. I'm curious how people are sort of thinking about AI craftsmanship in terms of their marketing and their content, and the craftsmanship behind communicating the brand as well.
We have, that is one of the initial pathways that we have started to explore as a brand, is the creation of aesthetic and imagery through the use of AI. There's a lot to be said for we all know that digital media and social media particularly is a huge part of communicating about brands these days, and fresh, exciting, interesting content that nobody's seen before is a huge part of that. If you keep repeating the same thing, nobody's going to care. They're going to tire of it very quickly. And so the ability to create that interesting, fresh, exciting content that nobody's ever seen before, that's about a product that you've been talking about for a couple of years, let's say, but to be able to reinvigorate that product through this fresh pair of eyes, I think is an incredibly useful tool, and it's certainly something that we're starting to look into. There's a long way to go on it still, and we certainly haven't sort of reached the peak of it, and we don't exactly have the answer just yet, but that is a really important part of what we're looking into doing at the moment, to be honest. And so there are a couple of tools that we've started to use, that we started to integrate, the digital team have started to be trained on. And yeah, totally, it is not only on the manufacturing and production side of things, that communication side of things is a really vital part of it. And we are thinking about it very seriously, mainly through our digital channels, through that sort of refreshability, as it were. Keep it interesting, keep it exciting. Even if it's a product that's been around in the market for 5 years, let's say, you can put a different spin on it easily and cost effectively.
Okay, brilliant. I think this is a subject that we'll keep returning to. It'd be interesting to see where we are in 5 years with AI, and I'm sure there'll be a sort of deeper discussion about it. Maybe we'd have our agents by that point. But I just want to thank everyone. Firstly, the panelists for being so brilliant and insightful about this sort of whole area. And just want to thank you also for being here and being so engaging. And I hope you've taken a lot from it. It's definitely sort of not, sort of open-ended, and we'll have to see what happens over the course of the next few years. But thank you very much for taking part.